As many of you probably know, Ford has been in the truck game for a very long time, for longer than I can even remember. They even went as far as to cut out cars a few years ago and focus fully on their SUV and truck game. So today we're going to find out if going full power into the truck game and also into the SUV game is really worth doing. So today we're going to check out the 2023 Ford Ranger XLT. So as always, I'm going to take you around the car, interior, exterior, and then of course I will take it on the road for a test drive in case you're in the market for one of these vehicles. So taking a look at the package, this is the XLT 302A. Don't ask me what that means, I have absolutely no idea. All I know is that it gives you an upgraded interior and a better looking exterior. You can see that it's a little bit lifted, this car, and you'll see that when we take a look at the side profile. It's as well got parking sensors, lane keep assist, all that nice stuff that's good to have on any car. Taking a look under the hood, you have a 2.3 liter EcoBoost engine that does 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. It's got more torque than horsepower, which is nice because when you're towing, you're gonna need a little bit of extra torque. You might notice that obviously this is a pickup truck, so the truck has a nice bed. This is a 5-seater car with 4 doors. You can configure it to have only 2 seats, proper 2 seats, and then you'll have a bigger truck bed. But this one is the 5-seater, so you have a 7,500 pounds tow capacity and a payload of 1,600 pounds. So there's your specs, numbers, and everything you need to know trim-wise. Let's take a look at the rest of the exterior. So as usual, starting with the front of the car, really nice red color that you're gonna see right away. You probably saw it in the intro. Red and black with a little bit of, it's not chrome, it's like a plastic silver. A lot of the front bumper is plastic. You got halogen headlights. Unfortunately, yes, the XLT package or the up package that we have on this vehicle that we mentioned in the intro, it does apply to this, so it does give you a nicer front end than the basic Ford Ranger, but halogen headlights, no LED on that trim would have been nice to see for that price. Nice Ford logo in the front. You got your parking sensors as well. Some nice 2 big tow hooks that are really, really sturdy and nice. Just a really nice looking front end. It's a traditional pickup, nothing to complain about there. So taking a look now at the Ford Ranger's side profile, you got a nice Ranger badge that says XLT on it. Also, you have nice 20-inch rims, they're big. And this is where you can see that the car is really lifted up because this is meant for off-road driving and pretty much all and every terrain driving. And trust me, it does that well because I've driven in a bit of winter conditions this week. You also have this keypad button where you can unlock the car through that, but no automatic unlock, one-touch unlock, whatever you want to call it, that isn't there. And unfortunately, with the price point of this vehicle, which we'll talk about a little bit later, it's not there, and it sucks that it's not there to have. You have to use the key to actually enter it. But overall, really like the ride height. I would have taken a lip here, or at least a little step to get in, because it's high up, and if you're not used to it, you just kind of fall out of the seat, and that's pretty much it. But anyways, let's head to the rear. So taking a look at the rear of the Ranger now, as you can see, it spells Ranger. So if you're wondering what kind of car it was and you're driving behind it, bang, Ranger. Nice, really big Ford logo. I like that. There's a backup camera here too as well. And the nice lift gate, it opens super simply. Put the tailgate down, bang. There's a nice step on the bottom that you could get up onto, but there's no actual step or nothing actually comes down here for that. But just enough space. You got 4 tie down parts as well, so really nice. And also it's very light. It doesn't automatically close or anything, but it is very light. And you can see the step is actually right here. Nice black and red again, and nice tail lights as well. So really cool for that. Let's go on the inside and take a look. So now taking a look at the interior of the 23 Ford Ranger. It's very basic, I'll say that. And this is where you kind of get into that price point range, right? Like the package that we have on this car that we mentioned in the interior is about a $3,000 add-on. And it does make the interior look better. The Tremor package looks way better, and Niall had that car a little while ago on the channel, so if you want to check out that video, go ahead. But it just looks a little bit dated. Like, you got an 8-inch infotainment display here, which is small by today's standards, but I will say that it's very responsive. The Sync 3 audio system is very good. The speakers here, it's a small cabin, so you really don't need much, and it really does have a lot of power, that audio system, so that's nice. The steering wheel looks a bit like Ford Focus-y to me. It's just cheap buttons everywhere. And like for the price point, they're asking $47,000 Canadian for it, which in my opinion is just a bit too much for what you're getting here. It is a pickup. It'll do everything that you want it to do, but we'll talk about more about that when we drive it. Anyways, continuing with the interior, it's a little on the more boring side, but it's kind of what you'd expect from a pickup. I mean, you really want it to be used, and you want different materials that are going to be able to get dirty and be cleaned, and this truck has that. You got cloth seats here, which are comfortable. They're both power seats, driver and passenger, so no problem there. I like that. The driver's gauge cluster screen is extremely small. There's 2 analog for your RPM, and then obviously your speed, fuel, and everything like that. You can see all that there. It's nice. It's usable. It has absolutely everything you need. It just looks a little bit dated on that side too. Below here in the center console, you have a bunch of different buttons for your hill descent speed, your transmission locking, your tow mode, your parking sensors, and traction control on or off. You also have a TM button that you can click, and that will actually change your terrain mode. So you can drive snow mode, sand, mud, whatever. You can change it. This car is meant to get dirty and be in the off-road or just whatever you want, so good to have that little adjustment there on the fly. Works really well, super responsive. Nice big shifter here. The lights on the shifter right beside don't actually light up. It's in your dash, so that's a little bit different, but fine. A little bit of storage here on the top where the Tremor had like auxiliary things that you could click on if you're going to add like a light bar and absolutely blind everybody or anything like that. That would be right there. It's got dual zone automatic climate control as well. A little bit of HVAC controls here. They're not the greatest because you can only kind of control whether or not you're heating the windshield or the rear, and you can turn your AC on and off, but you can't control where the air comes from just from these buttons. That's actually locked in the infotainment, which is, thankfully, the infotainment climate screen has never failed on me or never had any glitches, so I give it a pass in terms of that. But it would have been nice to see, and I think they do have room to put physical HVAC control buttons here as well. But you got heated seats on both sides, none in the rear. They're not cooled either, but I don't really care about that. Heated seats, unfortunately. No heated steering. If you're going to include heated seats, please give us the heated steering to go with it. We just need that. You just absolutely need it. So another thing that you might notice is that I have a key in the ignition, and for the first time in 2023, I've actually had to use a key for the ignition. For the first time in a couple of years, I've had to turn a key for the ignition. I know, spoiled, first world problem kind of thing, but it would have been nice to see, especially in the price point that this car is at, especially for what Ford's asking. It would have been nice to see a push to start button, especially because I can turn the car on with the key fob. So it has the technology to start without the key in the ignition, but they just didn't put the button. That one I can't wrap my head around. Moving on to the rear, there really isn't that much space. You got a lot of space up front, but when it comes to the rear, like, I'm not even going to do a shot back there because it's pointless, and I'm basically in the rear when you're up front. It's a very, very small cabin, but it does seat 5. The back seats you'll see are indented, so you could actually fit it's got room for your knees. If it wasn't indented, you'd have a lot more problem fitting back there, but it's comfortable, not heated. There's no vents back there. There's nothing special. You got your basic USB plugs and a normal wall outlet. It's simple but effective. You can use it, right? If you want to bring around a family, if you're like 4 people or 3 people, then you're absolutely fine buying that. This car, of course, also has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, not wireless, wired, but I expect that from most manufacturers now. The wireless is coming, but it's not mainstream yet, so that's completely fine too. So all that stuff being said, all that stuff out of the way, let's take this car on the road. Not off-road, because it's winter and I don't really have any places, and I don't even own the car, so I can't take it off-road for you guys. But the Quebec streets right now in the winter are kind of like off-road streets with all the potholes and stuff after winter. So we're going to check that out. Let's take it for a drive. All right, so here we are driving the 23 Ford Ranger XLT. So let's talk about what it does well. Well, it's comfortable enough. The seats are comfortable. I didn't get any back pain or any type of pains in the seat. They're easy to configure. Nice. I got a nice driving position. I got nice, armrests here where I can rest my arm here. Lots of foot room, so I love that when I'm driving. The technology in the car is good enough while driving where everything is just reachable. Nice to have. The steering wheel, well, it feels good. I mean, it's like not the most expensive steering wheel, but it's okay, right? Like it feels nice in the hands and everything, and all my controls are pretty easy to use, so I really don't have too much complaints just on the convenience side. But the actual driving side, well, it drives exactly like you'd imagine a pickup would drive. It's big. You got a higher ride height because this car is quite lifted, so it's nice to just kind of be taller than everybody else and not really worry about getting cut off too much, because people don't really like to take chances when they're next to a bigger truck, which is nice, especially in Quebec. It's ridiculous how much you get cut off around here. But The steering wheel, although it does feel good in the hand, it is a little bit stiff even without sport mode. This truck does have a sport mode if I crank it back, which I'll do once I get to the testing area. But it's really stiff, even with sport mode off. There's like no comfort mode or anything, and it doesn't really matter what terrain mode you're in. It's just rough, like it's just really, really stiff and kind of weird. I guess maybe because it's a lifted suspension that it's, you know, you gotta have a little bit more. Feedback wise, it's all right. It drives like a lot of body roll. It's not going to be quick through corners. It probably will be quick in a straight line, but cornering and stuff like that, I mean, it's a truck, right? You're meant to have stuff in the back or pushing something, pulling something, so you don't really care about, you know, does it pull through a corner fast? It's not so important. This car in two-wheel drive mode on dry roads, it's absolutely fine, no problem. But it's weird. Like, I found I lose traction, or my traction warning goes on in the snow with two-wheel drive. You really do need that four-wheel high drive to actually, you know, not have slipping. The back end just goes on you without that four-wheel drive, and even sometimes the front end slips, and I'm on winter tires. I just found that so weird. For a truck of this weight and this size, for it to be slipping was really strange to me. I didn't understand it, but the good news is if you are in weird weather and you do feel yourself slipping, you pop on that four-wheel drive, you're planted as could be. So you're not going to get stuck. It'll get you through every condition if you're in that four-wheel drive only mode. Obviously you're going to use a little bit more gas, but it's fine. I've been driving in two-wheel mode most of the time, except for when it has been snowing or raining, and I have been getting around 13.4 liters per 100 kilometers, which is what I expected, and actually a little bit less than I expected. I expected it to be way higher. I expected the Ford to use a lot more because it's a big car, right? But they've actually done well. I guess that EcoBoost engine is coming in handy in this case and saving you a little bit of money on gas, which we'll never complain about, right? All right, let's check out how fast this Ford Ranger can really go. Full power, all the way down, all the way down. Oh yeah, it's got it. It's really got it. Woo, that torque really can put you back there. It's I'm already at 100. That's like boom. I mean, it's not going to be electric fast like the Ford F-150 or anything like that, but really good, really good. That torque is, like I said, is going to come in handy towing or pulling something out or whatever you're doing with this car, whatever you're using it for, it's going to come in handy, that torque. And you definitely feel it. It's a fun ride. So definitely fast in a straight line. There's no doubt about that. Ford has done good, even with a 2.3 liter EcoBoost engine. Pretty cool. So like we said in the intro, Ford has cut out cars besides obviously the Mustang, and I don't see why they would ever cut that out, but they've cut out just normal cars, and they've tried to focus on trucks and SUVs and just going full throttle into that area. But the Ranger, there's some parts of me and just driving this vehicle that the Ranger feels kind of forgotten. Like we said, like the interior looks a little bit older. If you didn't tell me this was a 23, I maybe wouldn't know. And that's unfortunate because in America or in other countries, they have the Ford Ranger Raptor. It was just, that would be really cool. Or, you know, this car isn't really, it maybe feels like a baby F-150, but I just think it's missing a lot to be a baby F-150, unfortunately. I don't know, it just feels like they focus on every other area, and then the Ford Ranger is kind of just there if you're interested. And don't get me wrong, it is a good baseline truck, but I just feel like to have a package that's worth like $3,000 or $5,000 that doesn't add like that much, and you actually have to go to the Tremor that's like way more money to have leather seats and different things like that. It's just like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It feels like, you know, I guess I'm expecting Ford to have that less for more that Hyundai and Kia have, but they just don't have it, and that's kind of where Ford is going to lose out there once those guys do the pickup. But I mean, the Ford pickup game is always good, right? Like, it does everything that I want it to do. It's just I'm missing those little key features. The suspension in the Ford Ranger is good. It reminds me a lot of the Mach-E suspension, surprisingly. This is lifted, so it's a little bit more springy. Like, I feel kind of like when I'm on big bumps, I kind of get tossed around a little bit more, which I guess is normal because I am higher up, so the wheel has more space to travel, and it really doesn't matter what suspension mode I'm in, what drive mode I'm in, like, it just will toss you around. And I found the Mach-E did that too. So Ford suspension is maybe just a suspension that throws you around just a little bit more. Haven't driven the F-150. I am trying to get the Lightning booked, so hopefully we can check that out. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, Ford suspension is just very, very springy, and it makes you feel a little bit, especially on these like really tough Quebec roads that we have to drive on sometimes. And like right now, you can see it's kind of like bumping around, but like on those deep potholes, it really, really makes you feel like you're in like a washing machine or something. So overall, how do I feel about the Ford Ranger? I feel that it does absolutely everything that you expect of a pickup. I just think that they're asking too much for it. I just think that a lower price point with this vehicle nailed it. It's absolutely everything you need and maybe a little bit more than that. For the price point they're asking, I can't really recommend that you buy this at MSRP. I'd say wait for a deal or wait for a sale, and that's the first car I'm saying that with, and I don't say it lightly. I'm not saying that because the Ford Ranger is a crappy car. Not at all. It's just, it's missing the things that I think would bring it up to what Ford is asking for, and it's just a little bit too expensive. Besides the price, besides everything else, it is a very, very good pickup that will do exactly what you need a pickup to do. It'll sit 5 people relatively comfortably. You got nice space in the back to put all your heavy stuff, whatever you need. It's got plenty of room for the driver. The comfort is good. Suspension's a little springy, but it's not like terrible, right? And it's not one of those things that's gonna rattle your spine or give you neck problems, not even close. So I can recommend the Ford Ranger at a different price, maybe not at MSRP, but I would recommend that you go and look, and I recommend really, really that you test drive this car. The red on this car looks so nice. I absolutely fell in love with the red of the car. The interior, well, maybe it's not that much to look at, but do you care? Because you just want to be able to clean it. It's gonna get dirty. This car is meant to be driven in off-road, so who cares what the interior likes? You're probably gonna get it dirty anyways, so whatever, you know? So this car is very good for what it is. We just wish that the price would be a little bit different. But I think that's going to do it today for the Ford Ranger. It's been a good week, and on, you know, in a little bit of winter conditions, obviously I recommend this car fully for any type of different conditions. If you're somebody that maybe lives in a warmer climate, well, maybe you don't need a truck unless you really want one, or you're somebody that needs to use a pickup. But other than that, it's perfectly fine for our Canadian winter here. It'll survive anything you throw at it. So that'll do it for this one. You can follow me on Technically Cars. My videos are out around the same time as these ones are. I usually I post on Fridays. It's usually the day I look for where I do my POV shots. You can follow me on Instagram at Technically Cars, anywhere at Technically Cars. That's where you'll find me. And also make sure you subscribe to the PRN channel. Let us know what you think of the Ford Ranger. Do you own a Ford Ranger? Do you own an older Ford Ranger? I've seen a lot of older Ford Rangers on the road anyways. Do you own a Ford Ranger? Let me know what you think. Are you in the market? Do you like it? Do you like the red? How do you feel about this interior? I really want to know what our community thinks about the interior, and whether you think I'm wrong or not. Just because I tell you maybe I'm a little bit more negative in one review than another doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy this car, or that you should feel bad that you have this car. It is a very good car. It's just missing a little bit of things for me personally, but for you, it might be perfect. So that's why you should go out and test drive it. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here before I ramble on all day. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment, all that usual stuff. And we will see you in the next time. Take care.